Welcome to PHP Fundamentals. Today we're going to talk about arrays. What is an array? Well, an array is a data type that can hold more than one value. Each value is called an element. There are two types of arrays in PHP, indexed and associative. In this episode, we're going to learn how to create an array, how to add and delete elements from an array, and how to use the for each loop to access those elements more easily. Let's get started. All right. First, how do we create an array? Let's save this. And an array can be created by using a single statement. And we're going to break it down. This is the name of the array. And just like a variable, it has to have a $sign in front of it. We use the array keyword. And then inside parentheses, we use the elements or the values that we're going to add to an array, separated by commas. In this case, we have 4 strings with 4 names, right? Another way to create an array is by adding each value separately, like we do here. Let's uncomment this so you can see it. First, we create the array. Once again, the name of the array, the equal sign, the keyword array, and then a set of empty parentheses. This creates an array. And then we can add each value separately using an index. And that's why this is called an indexed array. An index that starts with 0. All right, so let's see how this looks. Let's save. And all right. We are using here the count function. And what does this do? We pass the name of the array as an argument to the count function, and it gives us the size of the array. Here we have an array of size 4. Now, there is another function that is used during development. This is usually not used in production because look at the format, the output. But this tells you easily what the elements of the array are. In this case, we have 4 elements, and it gives you the index and the value. Index and value for each case. So this is an easy way to see what the values of your array are. Now, how do we add elements to an array? Well, let's take a look. We can add elements by using the index, right, of the array. We have 4 elements, so the next index is going to be 4, because remember that the index starts with 0. So this will be the 5th element. And adding an element to an array, you simply write the name of the array, the index in between brackets, and then the value that you're adding. Another way is to simply omit the index, and this will automatically add one more value to the end of the array. So if you don't know the index, which is actually easily found with the count function, right? But you can simply do this, and this adds elements to the end of the array. Let's see how that looks. Let's save and refresh. And as you can see, we have added 2 more elements to the array. So these 2 right here. The 5th and the 6th element, Ashley and Jasmine. How do we remove elements from an array? Let's take a look. We use the unset function to remove elements from an array. And the way to do it is you put the name of the array and the index that you want removed, the element that you want removed. In this case, the 3rd element, index number 2, will represent the 3rd element, will be removed. Now, if you omit this, right, the brackets and the index, and simply add the name of the array to the unset function, it will erase the array completely. So let's remove the 3rd element from the array, which in this case is this element right here, Rosa. And let's print it and see how that looks, right? Save and refresh. And as you can see, we still have Bella, Diana, Rosa is not there anymore, and then we continue with Emily. So this element has been removed from the array. But notice also that the index, right? It doesn't show the index. It skips it. Now that can cause a problem, because if we try to access that element, right, in a loop, for example, let's see what happens. We get an error. So we can still try to access the element. The index itself is not gone. It simply doesn't show here. So if we try to access the index of an element that's undefined, we get an error. All right, so how do we fix that? We need to reindex our array. If we remove elements in this manner, right, just skipping elements, for example, you want to remove index 2, index 4. If we do it that way, what's going to happen is we're going to need to reindex the array. And to do that, we use this function, array underscore values. We pass the name of the array, and we store it in the same, right, in the same array. Now, after we do this, let's see what happens. As you can see, the array has been reindexed. You see how the index here that corresponds to Diana is not 3 anymore, it's 2. The one that corresponds to Emily is not 4 anymore, it's 3, and so forth. I'm sorry, this corresponds to Emily and this corresponds to Ashley. But as you can see, the number 2, the index 2, is back. So the whole array has been reindexed. Now, let's take a look at how to create an associative array, the second type of array in PHP. Rather than having, the main difference is rather than having a number index, we have a value, which is actually called a key. This is called a key, and this is called a value. So in an associative array, we have key value pairs. Key and value, key and value. And normally you will use an associative array when you want to pair values like we're doing here, a name with an age, name with an age. To create an associative array, there's also 2 ways. You can do it in a single statement, using the name of the array keyword, and all the values in between parentheses, all the key value pairs. Or you can do it line by line, creating the array and then adding elements. Right? So let's see how this looks by using the printrr function. Let's comment this out because we don't want to create the array twice. And here we have, rather than indexes, we have the key and value pair, key and value, and so forth. We add elements to an associative array in the same way that we use for indexed arrays. Either by including a key in a value, right? Now let's get rid of this for a second, and let's see how this looks. So after we have added one more element to the array, right? And this is always added to the end of the array. And let's see how that looks. We have added Ashley, a key with a value of 26, and it goes to the end of the array. How do we delete elements from an associative array? The same way that we do it in an indexed array, by using the unset function. All right, so we're going to delete this element, and we're going to output the result to the screen, and let's see how this looks. So after we refresh here, we should see this key value pair gone. Let's see what happens. All right. So we have Emily 27 gone. Okay. Now in this case, there's no need to reindex the array because there's no natural way to go like we do in an index array 0, 1, 2, 3. So there's no need to reindex the array once we get rid of an element in an array, in an associative array. Now let's see how we can more easily access elements in an array. One way to do it is by using a for loop. Okay, we have created an array here, which is composed of the states of New England, right? We have the name of the array keyword, and then 6 states, 6 elements. If we use a for loop to access the elements of the array, we need to know the size of the array. And we can find that using, of course, the count function. We are going to create here an order list, right? We have a heading, and each time the for loop goes through, we're going to output a list item. Now notice that the index that we're using starts at 0. So the first time it goes through the loop, through the array, the index here will be 0. And it goes up all the way to 1 less the size of the array. Because if the array is of size 4, for example, then the indexes would be 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry, 0, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so let's see how this looks. Let's save and refresh. And here we have New England states and an order list with 6 elements. Now this is using a for loop. An easier, more convenient way is to use the for each loop with an array. And how does this work? We have the for each loop, and the syntax of it is you give the name of the array, the keyword as, and then any variable here. As long as this variable matches what we're using inside the loop, it will work. So this could be X, Y, it doesn't matter. We're using value in this case to create an order list. Just so that you see the difference between the two, we are using an order list here. Let's refresh and see how that looks. All right, so we have gone through the array using the for each loop. Remember, you use the name of the array and then any variable here. Now, the for each loop is even more convenient when you're working with associative arrays because there's no index, right? So we have created here an array that holds as key value pairs the names of the New England states and their capitals. So we have 6 key value pairs, okay? And we're going to output them in a table, okay? But here's the loop. Here's what we're looking for. Almost the same syntax. First, you pass the name of the array inside the parentheses, the as function, keyword, and then this is the syntax, key and value. Now, once again, these two names could be anything. It could be X and Y, it doesn't matter, but just to make it easier, you have to, it's a better idea to have descriptive names. So you have key and value, and they have to match here, key and value. Notice that in an associative array, we're using 2, right? What happens if we use only 1? What happens if we do just this? Then only the values will be printed. Okay, so let's go back. Let's save, and let's see what the result is. So we have created a table, and in order to go through each element or key value pair in the associative array, we have used the for each loop. Notice that we don't have to know the size of the array. We don't have to worry about the index, incrementing the index as we do with indexed arrays. But here we have the key and the value that correspond to the names of the states and their capitals. So the for each loop, I think is the better choice to go through associative and even indexed arrays. Well, that's it for arrays today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.